Former President Donald Trump is back in the headlines, and this time, he's making waves with a scathing attack on Vice President Kamala Harris. Calling her the worst vice president, Trump launched into a fiery rant at a rally in Georgia. But this time, Harris isn't just standing by. She's firing back with some of her strongest comments yet. Could this exchange shape the outcome of the 2024 election? Today, we're breaking down the insults, the responses, and the political implications as we head into one of the most critical elections in U.S. history. Stay with us for an in-depth look into Trump's tactics, Harris's sharp rebuttals, and what this all means for you, the voter. Just last night, in a packed rally in Georgia, Donald Trump did what he does best, throwing political etiquette out the window and doubling down on personal attacks. This time, his target was Vice President Kamala Harris. It wasn't just any criticism. It was direct, loud, and some might say completely over the top. Trump's words were sharp, cutting right to the core of his strategy: belittle and discredit. He called Harris the worst vice president in American history, going so far as to say, "You're fired." Now, we all know Trump loves that catchphrase, but what's behind this attack? Is it a strategic move to weaken Harris's standing in the Democratic ticket, or just another example of Trump's off-the-cuff style? As we look at Trump's history, these kinds of outbursts aren't new. His rallies often include insults directed at political opponents, media figures, and even celebrities. But this time, with the 2024 election on the horizon, the stakes are higher. Every word carries more weight. So why Harris? Why now? Well, Harris has been taking on a more prominent role in the Biden administration, and many see her as the Democratic Party's future. By targeting her, Trump is likely trying to weaken her influence and sow doubts about her readiness for leadership. But Kamala Harris isn't one to sit back and take it. Shortly after Trump's rally, Harris fired back with a strong rebuttal during an interview with Reverend Al Sharpton. Her response? Direct, sharp, and a clear defense of her position. Those are some of the strongest words we've heard from Vice President Harris so far in this campaign cycle. She's not just dismissing Trump's comments as irrelevant. She's making a clear case that Trump's behavior is unfit for the presidency. In her interview, Harris didn't just defend herself. She painted a broader picture of what she sees as a dangerous precedent set by Trump. In her view, it's not just about the insults or the personal attacks. It's about protecting the integrity of the office itself. Harris's response is calculated. She's positioning herself not just as a vice president defending her record, but as someone who understands the gravity of leadership. And she's drawing a clear line between herself and Trump. Serious leadership versus what she sees as a chaotic, dangerous style of governing. So let's dig a little deeper. Why would Trump choose now to launch such a personal attack on Harris? To understand this, we need to look at Trump's overall strategy as we approach the 2024 election. Trump has always been a master of commanding media attention, and nothing grabs headlines like a bold, brash insult. By going after Harris, Trump is doing two things. He's rallying his base, who thrive on his combative style, and he's forcing Harris and the Democrats to respond. It's classic Trump. Take the offensive, put your opponents on defense, and dominate the news cycle. Political experts argue that Trump's attacks on Harris may also be a way to chip away at her potential future ambitions. Harris, being the first female vice president and a rising star in the Democratic Party, is a natural target for Trump's brand of politics. By undermining her now, Trump is likely trying to weaken any future presidential bid she might make. It's also a way for Trump to shift focus away from his own controversies. Right now, he's facing multiple legal challenges, including ongoing investigations into his actions during and after his presidency. By attacking Harris, he's drawing attention away from his own problems and putting the spotlight on his political enemies. Let's not forget why Harris is such a crucial player in this political landscape. As vice president, she's not just a figurehead, she's been actively involved in key issues, from immigration reform to voting rights. And for many, she represents the future of the Democratic Party. Harris has had a steep rise in politics, from California's Attorney General to U.S. Senator to the vice presidency. And while her critics say she hasn't done enough in the role, her supporters argue that she's been laying the groundwork for future leadership. For Trump, taking down Harris isn't just about 2024. It's about preventing her from being a long-term political threat. But it's not just Trump that Harris has to contend with. Polls show that while Harris is popular among certain demographics, including women and people of color, she struggles to win over young men, especially white and Latino men. Trump's attacks may be aimed at solidifying his support among these groups. To get a deeper understanding of how this political theater could affect the election, we turn to renowned political analyst Larry Sabato, director of the Center for Politics at the University of Virginia. Sabato has written extensively on presidential elections and how political behavior shapes public perception. Sabato believes that Trump's latest outburst is more than just another rant. It's a calculated move aimed at weakening Harris in the Democratic ticket. Donald Trump's behavior, particularly these kinds of insults, are not just off-the-cuff remarks. They're designed to energize his base, but also to provoke his opponents into responding, which keeps him at the center of attention. In a campaign, whoever dominates the conversation tends to have an edge. But Sabato also points out that Harris' response is strategic as well. By hitting back at Trump, she's trying to position herself as the adult in the room, someone who can rise above the insults and focus on the bigger picture. According to Sabato, this kind of back and forth could actually help both sides. Trump rallies his supporters, while Harris solidifies her standing among Democrats and independent voters who are tired of Trump's antics. Of course, the big question is, how does all of this play with voters? With just months to go before the election, every move counts. We took to the streets to hear directly from the people. As expected, reactions are divided. Trump's supporters see his comments as justified, calling Harris ineffective and out of touch. But for many voters in the middle, these constant personal attacks are exhausting, and they're looking for more substance from both sides. Polls show that while Trump's base remains loyal, there's growing fatigue among undecided voters. Many are looking for real solutions to issues like the economy, healthcare, and climate change, not just insults. So what does this all mean for the 2024 election? With the race heating up, both Trump and Harris are positioning themselves for the final sprint. For Trump, the strategy seems clear: dominate the headlines, rally his base, and take down his opponents one by one. But can he win over the broader electorate? For Harris, the challenge is different. She needs to prove that she's ready to lead, not just as vice president, but potentially as the future of the Democratic Party. Political experts agree that the next few months will be crucial. If Harris can stay focused on policy and avoid getting dragged into Trump's mudslinging, she could come out stronger. But if Trump continues to dominate the news cycle, it could be hard for her to break through. Ultimately, the question is, what kind of leadership do voters want? A return to Trump's bold, brash style, or a more measured, thoughtful approach from leaders like Harris? The 2024 election will likely be one of the most defining moments in recent U.S. history, and as Trump and Harris go head-to-head, the stakes couldn't be higher. The battle lines are drawn, and the future of America's leadership is on the line. As we inch closer to Election Day, only one thing is certain: it's going to be a fight to the finish. Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. Who do you think will come out on top in this battle of words? And what do you want to see from your leaders? Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell for more in-depth political coverage.